President Trump just made a huge admission about Kari Lake. We're going to check out the latest coming out of Arizona. We're going to see how at least one board of supervisors has certified the election results under duress. And make sure to stick with me at the very end of this video when I'll reveal what's really going to happen from all of this election chaos. You are not going to want to miss this. President Trump took to Truth Social yesterday to demand that Kari Lake be, in his words, installed as governor of Arizona. Trump wrote, quote, massive numbers of broken voting machines in Republican districts on Election Day. Mechanics sent in to fix them made them worse. Kari had to be taken to a Democrat area, which was working perfectly, to vote. Her opponent ran the election. This is yet another criminal voting operation so obvious. Kari Lake should be installed governor of Arizona. Now, President Trump made these comments as boards of supervisors in 6 counties prepare to meet the Monday deadline to certify the 2022 midterm election results. As of now, with 99% of precincts reporting, the Democrat Katie Hobbs leads Lake by approximately 17,000 votes. And because of a number of issues that Maricopa County officials admitted plagued Election Day voting, a number of supervisors are hesitant at certifying the election results. And unfortunately, at least one member has declared that he is certifying those results under duress. This is Mojave County Board of Supervisors Chair Ron Gould.
I vote aye under duress. I found out today that I have no choice but to vote aye or I'll be arrested and charged with a felony. I don't think that that is what our founders had in mind when they used the democratic process to elect our leaders, our form of self-government, and I find that very disheartening. With your vote of 4 ayes and 0 nays, you've approved item 1B. Anything else for the good of the order? We're adjourned.
So we're seeing how the game is played here, right? He's being made an offer he can't refuse. What's the Godfather line? You know, either your signature or your brains are going to be on this contract, right? Take your pick. Now, while all this is going on, the Attorney General's office is getting involved. Several days back, as many of you know, an official letter was sent from the Arizona Attorney General's office to Maricopa County officials demanding explanations for the myriad of election issues that raise significant questions as to the county's compliance with state election law. So we're talking broken tabulators, led to long lines, reportedly voters turned away as a result. It led to voters being forced to trust that their vote could be counted fairly. The chairman of the Maricopa County elections originally claimed that 20% of voting machines were affected. That number has now reached, by some estimates, 60%, more than half the voting machines and 3 times what we were originally told. According to a memo drafted by an attorney who observed the voting process, quote, it seems very clear that the printer tabulator failures on Election Day at 62.61% of the vote centers observed by 11 roving attorneys and the resulting long lines at a majority of all vote centers led to substantial voter suppression in Maricopa County. As a result, a number of counties have delayed the certification of their votes in protest for the, what do you want to call it, utter incompetence, or maybe we should probably better call it willful incompetence on the part of Maricopa County election officials. So needless to say, Kari Lake has hardly conceded this race. She, along with the Republican Attorney General candidate Abe Hamadeh, have filed lawsuits against Maricopa County demanding that officials turn over their records about the various issues that voters were confronted with on Election Day throughout the county. Thus far, Maricopa County officials have refused to share that data with the Lake campaign, and so she's taking them to court. All the while, Hamadeh, who's only down by 500 votes, continues with his lawsuit to actually overturn the results, alleging that the mishandling of the election cost him the race. Regardless of what happens, there is something that is absolutely coming out of Arizona that will have massive ramifications, an extraordinary negative impact against the permanent political class, and may in fact be their ultimate downfall. You're not going to want to miss this. But first, let me ask you guys, what are you feeling after these midterms, right? We've got a couple of weeks now that have passed. What are you, frustrated, discouraged, angry? Are you nervous about woke family members gloating over the upcoming holiday season and what you're going to say to them? I want to help you. For a limited time, I'm going to give you absolutely free my go-to news sources and 7 more bonuses simply by clicking on the link below. And if you want to have optimism and clarity in your arguments and counter the destroying effects of woke culture with a positive conservative vision of life this holiday season, don't miss this special opportunity. Download my personal news resources plus 7 bonuses that will prepare you for 2023 and beyond simply by clicking on the link below or visiting insidersclub.turleytalks.com. Take a look at what's happening all over the world. In China, mass demonstrations against the CCP's draconian COVID policies have reached an all-time high in virtually every single city and college campus throughout the nation. In Brazil, we are now approaching the 1-month mark of non-stop protests against what they consider to be an obvious corruption of their presidential election. Tens of millions have taken to the streets throughout the nation. In fact, some are calling these demonstrations the single biggest demonstrations of any democratic nation in human history. We could go on and on. The Freedom Convoy in Canada, the mass demonstrations throughout Western Europe against both their COVID policies and the NATO insanity with Ukraine. Patriots like never before rising up, and they are pushing back against the permanent political class. It's a social dynamic that we've been talking a lot about lately. It's called what sociologists call delegitimation. And this promises to have the most long-lasting effects at eroding the power of globalist governments. What we have to understand is that the stability of any government rests on a concept that the sociologist Max Weber referred to as legitimation. So for Weber, the only way a government can flourish, apart from sheer totalitarianism, the only way a government long-term can flourish is if it convinces the masses that it's worthy of their trust, that officials govern on behalf of the general welfare, that the powers that be are genuinely concerned about the public good and the good of the people. The moment the government is seen as corrupt and fraudulent and protective only of the interests of the rich and powerful, the government goes through a process known as delegitimation, and the stability of the government begins to falter. And that is exactly what we're seeing in China and Brazil and Western Europe, and of course increasingly here in the United States. Whether the powers that be like it or not, hundreds of millions of people around the world are outraged at the respective political systems that appear so gamed against them and their concerns. And as long as that outrage remains unassuaged, the very legitimation needed for a functioning and stable government is only going to erode all the more. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. And definitely you want to check out my latest video on China exploding as mass protests flood throughout the nation. You're not going to want to miss it, so make sure to click on that link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.